Okay, so welcome back from Chop Pot, Oriental Rice, Shredded Beef Sauce. I can't wait to have a taste of it. But let's do the newspapers this morning, and I'll start by introducing some of the topics on the front pages of most of the newspapers, and then I'll introduce my guests to you, and we'll go into the discussion. On the front page of the Daily Graphic, it has the story, State Assets Are Safe, according to the Administrator General. And then we also have, we will defend ourselves if, according to the NDC chairman, national chairman, Mr. Kofi Potofi. And then we have a picture of Mark Menu also saying that the list of ministerial nominees are not from the president-elect. So we'll make some time and go into the details. On the Ghanaian Times front page, we have on appointing ministers, give me more time. Nana Addo tells the NEC that they should give him more time to do appointment of ministers. And then we also have MP-elect awarded judgment debt. And then don't blame Rawlings for NDC defeat. That's according to one minister. And then NDC protest about beating, and that has to do with the NDC national chairman talking about the fact that NDC people should defend themselves if it becomes critical. Now, on the front page of the Daily Guide, we have Nana Mahama in a secret meeting, and that's on the front page. And we also have a picture of Jerry John Rawlings, and the headline is that NDC fights over Rawlings. And we also have the story of the NDC national chairman, fight back, Potofi preaches an eye for an eye. And then in the Daily Statesman, on the front page, the main story is that you can count on us, and that is coming from the Dagbon and the Mamprugu traditional councils as they assure President-elect Nana Addo Dankwa of their support. And then we also have Amidu, stop offering appointments on the blind side of Nana Addo, and that is on the front page of the Statesman. And then for the BNF team, we have a story on the fact that oil challenges could hang Akufo-Addo's hopes. That's according to Fitch, and we'll make some time and go into that story. And then also on the front page, MTN in talks with banks to offer micro credit. And so that is about that. Because of our time, we'll quickly introduce our guests for you, and we will start with a conversation. And we've been joined by Nana Akomia, who's the MPP Communications Director. Nana, welcome.
Thank you.
And then Adi Kuka, who's the Greater Accra Regional Chairman for the NDC. Welcome. All right. So let's start the discussions from the Administrator General. There's been lots of talk about the whole transition process, but this is an assurance coming from the Administrator General saying that state assets are safe. Let me start from you, Mr. Adikoka. There's been lots of talk about the fact that usually in the transition process, lots of things go amiss and go unnoticed, but coming from the government handing over power and with assurance from the state Administrator General saying that everything is intact and everything is safe. Let me take your initial thoughts on the transition process so far.
Let me say good morning to your esteemed viewers and to my brother Nana Akomia to say congratulations to him for a battle well fought. I hope he delivers what he promises the people of this country. Coming to, and yourself, my brother here,
Yes, sir.
coming to what the headline state assets are, naturally, they are in safe hands.
Right.
And for the first time in our history, we've got a transition going on smoothly. If you recall back so many 8 years ago, when government took over, the new government took over, there were a lot of acrimony going on. People's cars were seized. People were asked to leave their residence within 24 hours. People were harassed, that kind of thing. So I think going forward, a law was put in place to ensure that transition becomes very smooth. And so far, you've seen what is going on. There's an administrator. The government has, the handing over notes are all ready. Some have been submitted. A few are yet to be submitted. There's a co-chairmanship of the transitional team. And the chief of staff and Safo Manfo are leading the transitional team. So for the first time, because I was involved in one before where at the end of the day, certain statements were made which drew bad blood between various actors. This time round, the administrator is assuring everybody that the assets are safe, and I believe so, because before the election, government took government made sure that all government assets must be put in a safe place. And as we go along, when the handing over is done, whatever has been put there will be made available to the incoming government. And I believe that these things are done in good faith. I don't know that I keep hearing some spokesperson trying to banter in public. I don't think it's relevant. There's no need to do that. They've come a long way. This is the 7th or 8th election.
Yeah, after the yes, I think it's the 7th.
So it's the 7th. So
Yeah.
we've come a long way. And so we shouldn't go back to the dark days where we fight among ourselves. Elections are over, a handing over will take place, and the process must continue. We should be less acrimony, less infighting, less what do you call it, press conferences to give the impression that something untoward is happening. So let the Administrator General take over, and then let's move on.
Yeah, and then in the course of the week, there were some comments or messages in the media that the government is hurriedly trying to put in place certain contracts and do other things that appears to be untoward. But what's your response to that, coming on the back on the assurance from the Administrator General?
So I want to address this issue. Government is still in place.
Right.
I mean, until 7 December, midnight, government is still in place. Otherwise, what you are saying that government should stop operating. But government, and don't forget, whether some of these things probably have taken 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and they are now at the state that whatever has to be done has to be done, whether award has to go out or where employment. People have gone for interviews and those kind of things. And I don't forget, those people are all Ghanaians. After all, the people who are going to be employed, who knows where they voted? I mean, nobody knows which party they voted for. You understand? And so it's continuous. So I don't think we should make a hue and cry about this, a huge fuss about this thing. People have gone for interviews. Contracts, tenants have been put in place. People have bidded. They've won their bid. So far as they satisfy the criteria, I think we should go. We should continue. When a new government comes, they also create the environment to employ people. That is why they've given a lot of promises. And I'm sure those human beings must work to ensure that those promises are achieved. And so they also have to continue. This whole baloo about this and that, we should stop. Until 7th or 6th January, a president is, the republic must function. I don't have any problems with that at all.
Okay. Now let me come to you and take your thoughts on the comments coming from the Administrator General, and then your views on the transition process so far.
Well, thank you. Let me also wish our viewers a good Friday, and also my good brother Adekoka, whose party lost miserably in the elections. I told him the last time we were here, and he almost beat me up. And now he kept shouting at me. But it's happened. And it's happened on a scale that even though we knew we were going to win, we didn't even expect this scale. I mean, you're looking at votes, Nanado's votes in excess of 1 million. It's never happened in the Fourth Republic. And then you're looking at the NPP getting an extra 50 or so, getting an extra 50 or so parliamentary seats. I mean, that's what somebody called a tsunami. It's a total rejection of the NDC and a huge vote of confidence in Nana Akufo-Addo and the NPP. And I'm very, very confident that the confidence that the people of Ghana have reposed in the NPP and in the new president, the president-elect now, will yield positive dividends for the country. I have no doubt at all in my mind. Now, the transition. Yes, I think this is the third transition where a new government is taking over. I mean, in 1996, was it 1996?
2000, the NDC handed over to the NPP government.
No, but the first one, there was also a transition. Rawlings's time, yes, I think in 1996, 1997, it was the government handing over to itself.
Right.
And then 2004, it was the government handing over to itself. And also in 2012, it was the government handing over to itself. But so this is the third one where the government is handing over to a new government. The first was in 2000,
Yes.
the second was in 2008,
Right.
and then the third is in 2016. Now there is actually a law, called the transition law. So things really should be done in accordance to lay down principles and arrangements. So definitely there will be an improvement over what we've had over the past. I mean, in the past, we've seen quite untenable things happening during the transition. And we're hoping that this law would mitigate some of them. But you see, the most important factor that is crucial for the transition to work is what I would call good faith. You should demonstrate good faith, you see. If you don't demonstrate good faith, then no matter which law you have, there would be suspicions, there would be misunderstandings if good faith is not demonstrated. Look at, and it cuts across both parties. Look at the year 2000, for example. There was a runoff on 28th December 2000, the year 2000. There was a runoff on 28th. So you had just about a week for the handover on 7th January 2001. Now, in that 1 week that was left, the outgoing government of the NDC under Jerry Rawlings, I mean, for example, they decided on ex gratia, and they themselves paid out the ex gratia, you know, which does not show good faith. To decide on ex gratia in the last 1 week or 2 weeks of your tenure and then pay it out, it didn't show good faith. I remember President Mahama at that time. He was the Minister for Communications. And I think on the 5th of January or so, they set up a board for the National Communications Authority. And he was the chairman of that board. And he inaugurated that board on the 5th of January. You know, clearly very bad faith. So these kind of things do not show good faith, and it brings suspicions. And it's not just the NDC. In the NPP's transition too, there were issues that were interpreted by the NDC as not showing good faith. For example, allocation of flats. You remember?
Yeah.
That they said that why you're leaving office, and why had you done allocation of flats in the period when you were leaving office? Then when you looked at the dates of the allocation, they all fell within the transition period in 2008. So when they took office in 2009, they cancelled all of those allocations. I'm sure you remember. There was also the matter of the single spine, for example. And you know, we had the government of the President Kufuor had been working on the single spine for over 2 years. And Kufuor then gave finality to it and signed the agreements and all of that in the transition period. The NDC felt that no, you had lost, your government had, your party had lost, and so something like the transition, you should leave it outstanding for us to come and deal with. So in the event, they didn't implement it for over 1 year because they thought that it should have been left to them. So all of these things have not shown good faith, and it brings problems. Even as we speak, this one, with even the transition bill, there are worries about good faith. There are worries about good faith. Why are you going to sign new contracts? Why would you want to do that?
But his point is that the government is still, you know, until the 7th of January when power is handed over, the government has to run.
Yes,
and some of these contracts may be necessary to run.
The government has to run. There's no doubt about that. But there are, well, in the transition, you see the transition, when you've lost power on 8th December and you have 2 or 3 weeks, your focus should be transferring power in a tidy manner. Your focus should not be on signing new contracts. You understand? Because the new government is coming into place. So if you went, it's the same thing, like I'm saying to you, when the NPP government did the single spine agreement and all of that, they said that it should have been left to them because this is a major issue and you are going out of office. So you brief the new government where you have reached and hand it over to them. By going ahead and taking decisions as to the amount that should be set aside for single spine and all of that. When they came, they said, look, we're not part of this. So they didn't implement it for over 1 year. You see? So when...
Implementing.
One second.
Study the system.
I'll give you time to react. Let's you know.
The flats that were allocated. Remember, they said, look, why you've lost office and you are rushing. You know, it gives the impression that you are rushing to do something untoward. So when the flats were allocated in 2008, they said, look at these people. You've lost office and you've because of the period the flats were allocated. They said, why were you trying to rush to allocate flats? You had 4 years or 8 years to allocate flats. Why have you waited till now? So they cancelled it. So I'm saying that now we should not be doing the same things that would give the impression that you are not showing good faith. As we speak, look at even the handing over notes, which are the most essential ingredients in a transition. As we speak, you know what the law says? Yeah. I'm sure you know. Or you don't know.
Talk to us. We're listening to you.
The transition law provides that handing over notes should be deposited with the Administrator General 30 days before the election.
Yeah.
Very, very clear. They should be deposited. Inventory and accounts of state assets, all of those stuff should be deposited with the Administrator General. Handing over notes should be prepared and deposited with the Administrator General 30 days before the election. As we speak, as you and I speak, more than 1 week after the elections, the handing over notes have not been delivered. Out of 24 or so, only about 10 have been delivered. Why? Because these notes were supposed to have been done. And indeed, you remember the Chief of Staff giving instruction, reminding ministers about 2 months ago that they should start preparing handing over notes. You remember?
Yes.
Yes, the announcement came. And I understand that the notes were done and given to the Administrator General, who went and retrieved them from the Administrator General. Why would you go and retrieve them from the Administrator General? And as we speak, only 10 or so have been delivered. So it doesn't show good faith.
Now, if we were to go back into 2008, was it the case that when the NPP was handing over, all the handing over notes were done and complete during the transition period?
No, at that time there was
that bill had not yet been passed. Okay.
But now you have it, and to avoid all of that discretion, say, let's have a law. Okay. And the clear provisions of the law. Now, if you have a situation where handing over notes have been prepared and given to Administrator General, who went and took them? And what are you going to do with them? After the elections, what are you going to do with them? What are you going to do with the handing over? Because you've already given them out. Out with the Administrator General. Why hasn't the Administrator General gotten the notes? Because they should be with the Administrator General. So if somebody retrieves them, then it gives suspicion. What are you going to change in them? Somebody will suspect that you retrieve them after the elections because you want to make changes. You understand? Yeah, because so it should not happen. Now, when you hear of car auctions at this period, you wonder about why would you want to do auction of public property at this time? Even though there's a government in place, if you hear that, you would wonder, why do you want to do that at this time? You are going out of office. You have to just say that we have 200 cars that have been scheduled for auction. You see, or even if you want to do auctions, because there's a transition team, you brief the team so they know exactly what is happening. Are you receiving reports that auctionings are happening? You hear of look, I'll tell you something. Our Ashanti Regional Chairman is called Wontumi. I'm sure you've heard of Wontumi. Yeah. He was telling me the last time something that completely shocked me. You know, he was into mining. He was into mining, you know, I think it's this Galamsey stuff. And his equipment, bulldozers and trucks and vehicles were seized 4 years ago. Okay. They were seized, and he's been battling to get them restored. Now, he was telling me that just last week, there's stuff that was seized 4 years ago. They've been brought up for auction.
I see.
They've been brought up for auction. So you wonder, I mean, what is this? Why are you in a rush to auction somebody's equipment in this 2 weeks that you have? He told me himself. You know, and then so we advise him to take up the matter seriously. But when you hear of these things, that there are car auctions taking place here, car auctions taking place there, it makes you get suspicious. You can't deliver handing over notes that were supposed to have been ready 1.5 months ago. You know, it doesn't generate, it brings all of this suspicion. And so when you hear that people who were political assistants and all of that, now they are being converted into permanent staff for civil service. When you hear those things, it gives rise to
but
suspicion against.
alluded to the fact that these were things he was picking up for the grapevine, and that it was not that it was official, but these were things he was picking up for the grapevine.
I can tell you that if he wasn't sure that some of these things were happening, he wouldn't speak out about them. I can tell you that for a fact. I can tell you that for a fact. And you see, even the handing over notes which were supposed to have been ready and were ready, why are they suddenly they are not ready? Who collected them from the Administrator General? What do they intend to do to them? So all of these things doesn't generate good faith. And I'm saying to you that in 2008, some of these things happened. And I've given you some of the instances, like the single spine, like the allocation of the flats and so on, which even in the year 2008 or so, the NPP government ordered 2 aircraft, these presidential jets.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was months before even the transition. But the NDC said that the president at that time, Kufuor, was exiting office. And these jets, these presidential jets, were going to be delivered in 2010. So he should have waited for the next leader, whether it's an NPP leader or NDC, to deal with those jets, because they're going to be delivered 2010. And Kufuor thought that you had to make the decision timely so that, that if there's a delay, the delivery of the jets will go beyond 2000. But the NDC were very critical and said that, but you are going out of office. Why are you going to buy jets for your successor? Let your successor come and all of that. So I'm saying that you need to demonstrate good faith. If we hear that things are being done, all sorts of things are being done in this few 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it gives suspicion. I've given you the example where President Mahama in 2000, then Minister for Communications, actually inaugurated a board for the National Communications Authority, which was under the ministry of his ministry. And he himself was the board chairman. 2 days before the handing over. You know, so of course,
I see.
when you came, you just dissolve the whole thing. But it's still happening, and it doesn't. So in the next few weeks, I'm hoping that the government will be straightforward. If there are major issues that the government feels have to be done urgently, all they have to do is, because now as you speak, you literally have 2 governments. That's what you have, literally. You have 2 governments.
Yes, but until the 7th of January, it is the NDC government led.
No, I'm saying that literally.
Yes, in the sense of that word.
Because you see, whatever you do in this transition period would have to be, it will be carried forward by somebody in another 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Yeah. So it doesn't spoil anything, and it demonstrates good faith and cooperation by saying, oh, these are the things that where we have reached with this matter, and we intend that in the next 2 days we'll do this and that, so that there's no suspicion. You see, otherwise, when you hear of some of these things going on, I mean, if in 2008 you are a government that is going out of power, you are allocating flats in the transition, the NDC, they had issues with it. You see, so they should not be doing things that will also raise suspicion. That's all.
Okay, all right. Let me bring you in, Andy. He raises some issues of rumors of auctioning and then handing over being prepared already, and then people retrieving to make amendments and then all that. Your party is in government now. Is this the case?
No. You rightly said rumors. And if you subject your argument on rumors, then you are totally out of tune. The sense that rumors, and you haven't brought evidence to show that this is happening. To auction something doesn't take one day just to get up and go and auction cars. You understand? Yeah. Or whatever it is. I'm saying that government is still in power. It is important to know that this government is still the lawful government of this country. And unless we are saying that we should stop, once the elections are over, government should cease and wait for negotiation for other government to come and take governance. That's not the issue.
That will create a vacuum. It's important that there's a government.
So why are you saying that whatever government is doing now is not in good faith, assuming without admitting that they are selling, they are auctioning cars?
But is it the case?
That's not the case. That's what I'm saying. And I'm saying that people should avert our mind from saying that because the elections are over and a handover is going to take up in 3 weeks' time or so, the president should just in the house every morning and not go to. Yesterday there was a cabinet meeting. Are we saying that they shouldn't have gone to cabinet meeting? It's a cabinet meeting, and decisions that has to be rectified and all those things, which have probably been painstakingly done over the months and years. We don't have to say that. Let's put a hold to it. When you take over on the 7th of January, you also continue from there. That's it. And I don't believe that what you are saying about 208, that things were cancelled here. I think we have moved from that stage. If we want to make progress, we don't go back to what we did 201 and 208. What we did in 201 enabled the government of 208 also to probably try and do until Professor Mills came in and said no. You know, in 201, DCs were asked to leave their office. Immediately, we lost the election. In Professor Mills' time, for almost 6 months to a year, since their time had not expired, they stayed in office. And that's what we should be, when we start this argument again about it is alleged or I hear that they are doing this, they are doing that, you create a situation where at the end of the day, we go back to our old ways. You know, and I'm saying that the government is the government of the day. And we should all ensure that the laws of the country, that if in the wisdom of those who prepare the transitional law, they could have put that on the 8th of December, when elections are held and the winner, government don't touch anything. But they realize it is not possible. You cannot do that. Yeah. Government must continue. So the law, if the law doesn't say that government should not do appointment, I remember 208, Fofie, who was appointed within the transit to head Cocoa Board. When we came, we respected the law. He stayed in until his time expired. You see, so let's make progress. This is not a coup situation. We are behaving as if a coup has taken place, and then all of a sudden the other side must be demonized and put somewhere, a cage or that kind of thing. We've passed that stage. When we came, you saw me and my friends reaction. This is what we should, as a people, in the U.S., Obama is still in charge. Obama is still working. Donald Trump is sitting somewhere forming his government. At the appropriate time, his government will take over. That doesn't mean the United States government should come to a standstill. If something that has to be done, it has to be done. We should stop these rumors that they are selling this, they are selling that, they are selling this, and that kind of thing. And nobody has gone to stand at where the selling is taking place. Hey, here are the cars or that are being auctioned. Nobody.
But he gives an example of the NPP
chairman. I want to see the evidence. You see, that's why I say hearsay. In this period, you hear a lot of. You even hear that some men are being changed to women.
Oh, that would be too extreme.
Exactly.
But he also raises the point that handing over notes that should have been lodged or submitted to the Administrator General appears.
I'll read the statement here to you, issued by the spokesperson of the transition. It said, the handover notes over the various agency departments were ready within the time frame required by the Presidential Transitional Act 2012, Act 844. However, the ministers responsible for each sector were required to sign the handover notes before sending them to the office of the administrator. The last 2 months of the year have been a period of intense campaigning, and not all ministers had the opportunity to review the notes. They must review and sign them within the period the period defined in the law. That notwithstanding, the handing over notes are now all complete and are available to be handed over to the transitional team of the president-elect. Indeed, at yesterday's meeting of the transitional team, the reports from 8 of the ministries were handed over. Further at that meeting, the transitional team held yesterday, it was agreed that the rest of the handing over notes will be made available at the next meeting of the transitional team on Monday, the 19th of December. So nothing has been given to the administrator and gone to withdraw. You see, this is the problem. Nothing. So why can we come and sit on and say, oh, it has been sent and then it has been withdrawn to be doctored? Here's the statement.
So they were already waiting for the various ministers to review and sign.
Exactly. Okay. So we shouldn't put out statement there that, like I said earlier on, creates confusion. Nothing has been forwarded to the transitional administrator and nothing has gone to be withdrawn to be doctored. You see, that's why I say we have come a long way.
Okay.
We've matured in our politics.
All right.
And I expect my brother here, he's a mature politician. He should know the way and manner we comport ourselves, the way and manner we behave, the way and manner we handle this transition, so that in the next transition that will take place in the near future, we have a precedent that we can say, look, at this period of time, this is how we did it. It was smooth without any acrimony. All of us understand ourselves, and let's move on. It's very, very important. Not that we'll be throwing words and rumors through the system, which does not augur well for us.
At least the transition.
I agree. You know, I agree with Adekoka. Nobody is saying that government should stop. Has anybody said so? Government should continue. The president is going about his duties. He will give a State of the Nation address. We are not saying bring the State of the Nation address to the transition for approval. No. Nobody has said so. He knows that government is always in place. So why did they protest against the allocation of the flats in 2000?
With due respect, I've told you that 201, what happened in 201? 209. I'm going back. You see, when you have to put things in context. In 201, when the MPP took over government, people like himself, E.T. Mensah, was put in the BNI. People were chased from their houses. Their people's cars were taken from them. You know, remember, like you said, the El Gracia people. The MPP came and said no. One car or the valuation of cars. All those things went on in a manner that was not managed. Now, in 2008, when NDC took over, people also wanted to go back to that system and also do the same thing. I remember a lot of things went on untoward. That is why we decided that we are now going to have
an act that will govern the transition.
Us. So, like I'm saying, Professor Mills then said, no, I'm father for all. I don't want you people to go on a rampage, right? So, I'm saying that let's put the past behind us and then move forward. That is why we've got this system in place. So if you are all going to refer back to what happened in 2008 and what happened in 2001, everybody did something that was untoward.
Anyway, don't worry. I'm saying that it's a government in place all the time. There was a government in place between the period 28th December to 2008 and 7th January 2009. There was a government in place. But yet, some of the things that were done during the transition period, like allocation of flats.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You said that this thing should have waited.
I've just said
and
it.
so you cancelled them. Single span, you said it should have waited. So you came back. So, but you see, you are even talking about the law.
No, you are going back.
You are talking about the law. See, now because there's a law. Okay. Why are you not abiding by the law? Why? We are being told that ministers have not had time. They have not had time. The law says very clearly, 30 days before the elections.
I agree with
the elections are supposed to be on 7th November.
Yes, earlier on.
Yes, and then we all got 1 month grace. The law says 30 days before the elections.
And you heard the statement that
you have. Please, I'm not talking about state. I'm talking about law.
Yeah, I'm saying that I agree with you.
Please. So you see, now he said, "Hey, let's look at. Okay, let's look at the law. How is it that when the law makes a definite provision about submission of handing over notes, 30 days, you are telling us that ministers have not had time to come and sign? So then they've infringed the law because they haven't had time.
Granted.
Huh? Why?
Granted. But that
You see, so somebody will wonder that what are they doing with the notes? What are they doing with the
Nobody is
handover notes?
doctoring the notes.
We've been given the assurance.
So
that
no,
on the 19th, the rest of
my
the notes
conclusion
left.
is that there's a government in place.
Yeah.
If there are major issues that they want to take a decision on, to show good faith, so that the other government doesn't come and say, hey, why did you do this at this time? I've cancelled it. With all kinds of problems for the country. To show good faith, let them work together. If you want to sign new contracts during this period, brief your transition colleagues. You see, if you want to do new engagements during this period, you want to now turn the status of people into permanent staff in the civil service and all of that, brief your colleagues in the transition team. That's all.
Okay. On that note, let's advance the conversation and let's look at another topical issue. And this is from Peter McMahon. He says that list of ministerial nominees not from president-elect. The 2016 campaign manager of the New Patriotic Party, Mr. Peter McMahon, has dismissed lists circulating on social media regarding certain names that have been selected for ministerial positions under the government of the president-elect, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. He said, when it came to ministerial appointment, the buck stopped with the president-elect, and he would not be coerced into making any premature appointments or announcements. And he was addressing the press at the end of the meeting between the National Executive Council of the NPP and the president-elect and his vice, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, in Accra yesterday. So let me come to you. We've seen lots of things circulating on social media, and some people have said, well, it's just a way of testing the waters to see how people will respond to certain names in certain positions and all that. But per what Peter McMahon told us yesterday, these are completely false, and it had nothing to do with the president-elect. Let me come to you as a communications director. How and why does things like that happen? Is it a case that it comes out, people will react, people are not happy about it, and it's a way of testing the waters, and then it goes back in? Even in government, sometimes when we hear of ministerial reshuffles, people put out lots of things on social media to try and test the water. What is the case on the ground from you as a communications director?
The case on the ground is very clear. There's only one person who can make ministerial appointments, isn't it? There's only one person.
Yes.
It's not me. It's not McMahon. It's only one person. So if there is some announcement that is not coming from the proper office, you should disregard it. Yeah. But it's normal at this particular time for people to speculate. Is the season for speculating on appointments. So you should, it happens all the time.
Right.
It happens all the time. Anytime there's a change of government, people would speculate about what kind of appointments are going to be made and all of that. The big one is about the speaker. And
Yes.
people have thrown up their own names.
Various analysis.
It's all normal because something must occupy the space. You understand? And in the absence of an official announcement, people will still find stuff in the space to keep the discussions going. But really, we all know where this appointment should come from. I have seen 2 lists on the
Social media.
long list, and I happen to be in
Minister of
one.
Energy.
In one,
Did it come to you as a surprise? People already speculating.
in
that's
one
a
list,
mystery.
I was at Energy, and then another list that I saw. In fact, actually, what happens is that all of a sudden you are flooded with phone
People
calls,
send
50
you,
phone
yes.
calls in an hour, and you wonder what is happening. And somebody's read something on there, and it causes a lot of trouble for everybody. And the second is I'm supposed to be in communication, and then you are flooded with calls. All of this are speculation. All of this are speculation. As I speak, the president-elect hasn't had any discussions with me about what role. If he's so minded that I should play a certain role, he will speak to me. And then but he hasn't spoken to me. So when I see my name in one list and Energy, the second list communication, I'm like, but I understand that this is the season. Yesterday, the National Council of the NPP met. The president-elect, the vice president-elect, all of them are members of the National Council. We reviewed the elections, and how we came by this result and all of that, looked at all of it, got briefings from the campaign manager and other people at the core of the campaign. The president-elect also spoke. When it came to appointments, he said that he was going to consult widely inside the party and outside the party. He wanted to do wider consultations. He's going to devote the next 2 weeks or so to do those consultations and that. But I am sure that when he's finished and he's arrived at a definite list, he will bring it before the party. Yeah, and that is good, because a lot of time party people have complained about appointments, that the party, NDC has complained, NPP has complained that at least the party doesn't seem to be involved. Because it is by the constitution, it's the prerogative of the president to do those things. Now, and so it depends on the president to make an effort to involve the party. Nana Akufo-Addo is very keen in involving the party in all of these decisions, executive decisions. For example, when the list of members of the NPP to form the NPP side of the transition, right, he brought it before the party before the announcement came out, which is a good sign. And I'm sure issues about his views on the speakership and appointments to be brought before the party for the party's buy-in. And then, you know, but I think my colleagues, a lot of my colleagues, we should be a bit moderate in what we expect. If it takes somebody like me, let's say the new president does, say, 80 ministers, you know, cabinet ministers, deputy ministers, about 24 cabinet ministers, another maybe 30 or so deputy ministers. You have regional ministers, deputy. So let's say he does 80. I would even wish that the number is reduced, because you need to signal to Ghanaians that, but let's say he does 80. 40 will have to go to parliament by law. Right. By law. Right. So that leaves 40 cabinet and deputies. Somebody like me, I cannot be a deputy minister. You understand? So you are left with cabinet positions of, okay, let me do it this way. There are about 24 cabinet positions. 12 must go to parliament, right, by law, half of appointment. So they are left with just 12 for all of us who are outside parliament. Just 12. So people should not be too agitated. People should be moderate in what they expect, because the positions are not, in terms of cabinet and so on, they are not, it's just a few. And there are many people who've been ex-ministers before in all of that, and the positions are just few. It favors the members of parliament, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but would you be disappointed in the case where your name never comes up in any of the appointments? Because, you know, like we rightly put it, you've been actively involved in the campaign and all that, and the party people see all that you do, and if it happens that your name doesn't appear, will you be disappointed, just from your personal point of view?
No, I would not be disappointed.
Okay.
I am just happy that my party is in office. That's alone.
It's consolation for you.
Getting an opportunity to serve is just a bonus. I mean, you are not the only person who worked.
Right.
Because some of us, well, maybe we wake up in the morning and drive and come and sit on radio and so on. People see us. It's a lot of sacrifice. Let me take the opportunity to congratulate my communicators across the country for the work that we have done under very, very trying circumstances. We didn't have a tenth of the resources that our opponents had, but we managed to keep out. And let me use this opportunity to thank all of them. But you see, you may be sitting on radio, but somebody else is doing something in some village or in some that may not be known to the public. So all of us have worked. We're working for the party to come into office. We're working for our presidential candidate to be elected. That is what we have achieved. Okay. If you have to serve, it's just a bonus. Okay. But I am sure it's not just ministerial positions. There are several positions.
But the lobbying has begun. No two ways about it. People lobbying together.
I have never lobbied. I have never lobbied for any position. Okay. So I don't know which.
About the other people.
In President Kufuor's time, I had 3 appointments. Right. I had a deputy minister for tourism in 2001. I heard it on the radio. I didn't lobby for it. I heard it on the radio.
So you were not consulted, you were not aware of it?
Normally, the presidents that have come, it doesn't look like they like consulting. But it's improved. Because in the subsequent ones, because I got another appointment to go to Ministry of Youth and Employment. And that one I was spoken to. Okay. And then I got a second appointment for information. Information first. Yes, I was spoken to for about 20 minutes. And then the third one for Youth and Employment, I was spoken to. But even in this government, we've had people telling us they were sitting in Parliament when they heard their names being announced by the Speaker. We've had people themselves tell us. So it doesn't look like the presidents like doing a lot of consultation. Okay. So I'm saying that in all of those positions, I never went to lobby anybody. You are working for your party. The president knows what you are doing. He knows what everybody is doing. There shouldn't. You can indicate to him that you are available, but beyond that, don't go and bring your traditional your paramount chief and all kinds of old school boys and so on to put pressure.
Thank you very much, Nana. Let me come to you, Andy Kuka. I'm sure you may have seen some of the lists circulating on social media, but more importantly, you have been in government for the past 8 years. Usually the processes of nominating ministers and all that, Nana makes a point where some of your ministers were surprised because they were in Parliament when their names were mentioned and all that. How do you tie all this in as the NPP prepares to put out the list of people designated for ministerial appointments?
Yeah, at this stage, you're going to have all manner of people coming up, all names, manner of names emerging. When I saw that my brother has been slated for Minister of Energy. I said, well, if that is the case, he deserves it. That one, there's no twist about it. He has worked very hard to get. So if by dint of fate he happens to find himself in the energy sector or communications, it's a service to the nation. Yeah. So but it's up to them to make sure that they learn from the mistakes that we committed. Sometimes it's not everything that you can say on television, but I keep saying that in all things that we do, we should situate Ghana first and ensure that we have come to serve the people and not to lord over the people. It's very, very important. People will come into government with various ideas, various expectations, and sometimes when the expectations are not met, you just have to find your way out. So I'm saying that elections are over, let them bring their government, but doing so, we're also going to keep an eagle eye. Just as they kept an eagle eye on us, we are also going to make sure we keep an eagle eye on them from day one. Because they did put an eagle eye from day one. So we are not going to rest on our oars and just, we are also going to watch the appointment that they are going to make. And don't forget that names that are popping up, some of them have been in government before. Right? And we know their track record. So we are waiting and watching. And at the appropriate time, the relevant comments will be
Are you going to give them difficulties at the vetting committee, some of the names you've seen when they are to appear before the vetting committee?
If you carry a baggage already, naturally, people are going to ask you about those baggages. So naturally, we're going to ask questions. Yeah. But then, at the end of the day, they're in the majority. And of course, of course, they'll have their way.
Yeah.
We'll have our say.
At least you have your say. All right.
Vast majority.
On that note, let's move on to another thing that happened yesterday, and that's coming from the National Democratic Congress's national chairman, saying that the NDC have had enough of the beatings, and from the innuendos and from the statement, it appears that it is now time for people to react where they see that they are being unduly harassed. And people have been worried because that posture, smacks of promoting violence and all that. What do you say to this issue as the national, as the regional chairman here in Greater Accra?
In my position as the Greater Accra chairman, I've had to restrain a lot of people. Since the election announcement was made, the results were announced. I've had to really restrain people. Look, I'll give you just one example.
Okay.
Okitidua.
All right.
They invaded the house. Her mother was heckled, manhandled, and now she's got POP on her leg. Okitidua, the cars in the house were vandalized. Why? It's not a cool situation. A coup hasn't taken. Even in terms of when there's a coup d'etat, a lot of infractions go on, but not to that extent. Right, motorway, boot, you know, some place being bent, one of our members being killed in the central region. People were settling scores. Ododo Dio, the assembly members had to leave. The NDCs had to leave their homes. And Miss Bell, she had to. People came with assault rifles, asking her to come and confess or come and apologize. And, I mean, for what? And if you push somebody to the wall, naturally, the person is bound to react. Right? That's why we are saying this. A lot of us are very angry about what has happened. But as leaders, you need to, at a certain stage, make a point. And when you make that point, and everybody understands, then we all put the horses in and make sure that the stable is closed.
Is it an admission that you don't have confidence in the police?
Well, the police were slow to react. They were in a state of flux. They were slow to react, and the police cannot be everywhere. In Dansoma, midnight, people were calling me, Chairman. I'm under siege. What do I do? You understand? So that has compelled our national chairman to come forward and make that statement. And all of us are. I was there. I was at the press conference, and I mean, we that is the way we are feeling. That political, when we win an election, it's not a move for you to go and vandalize state property, to go and beat up your political. I don't want to use the word opponents. We are all Ghanaians, and we've taken part in an election. You have won, we've conceded. We said, let's move on. We could also have gone the way that probably made the water murky for what they did to us. But I said, no, graciously, let's move on. We can come back and fight another day. So it's very important that our brothers on the other side realize that, look, you can't push it so far. When you push it, we also have the men and women to fight back. But at this moment of time, we are not prepared to do that. We've just cautioned them and said, enough is enough. Let us stop this act. And let's know that we have nowhere to go. This country belongs to all of us. And I will once again go back to this morning. You were in this room when my brother came in. You know, should I stand up and say, oh, should he start beating me up because we've lost the election? No. You have a relationship that goes a long way.
But therein lies the danger, because people have said that if at the high levels of the party, you will not resort to defending yourself if it comes to that end. You rather refer it to the police and ask the police to take charge, but to have a national chairman talk to the people and say, defend yourself where you are being attacked.
We had to do that because it was becoming too much and too many. You understand? That is why we are not asking our people to go out there and fight, but we are saying that if somebody slaps you now, you have to defend yourself.
So you should slap the person.
My brother, if you slap me,
because though you didn't explicitly state
you have slapped me
slapped
me 2 or 3 times, and I've kept quiet, and you keep slapping me. You see, you are telling me that I should still continue asking you to slap me. No.
But the police has indeed urged NDC leadership to exercise restraint, and that's in the Ghanaian Times. Let me just read a brief portion of it. The Ghana Police Service has cautioned members of the NDC to abort the plan of resorting to defending themselves. Police Public Relations Director Superintendent of Police Cephas Atta said it was not for the members of the NDC to defend themselves, but to resort to using laid-down procedures to address the issues.
So we are saying that make the arrest, prosecute, set an example, so people know that they cannot take the law into their hands. But if everybody is saying, oh, it's okay, we are there, we are protecting, and the people are still being beaten, and no action is taken, people are arrested and are let go. You understand? The political elite must also make statement to rein in their people that, look, this is not what we want you to do. We have won an election. At the end of the day, you go to a house. I know a house where the mother is MPP, the father is NDC. Should the two a man, a wife
Husband
and
and wife,
husband
yeah.
be fighting among themselves? No, we all can't think the same way at the same time. We can judge and agree to move on.
Okay, all right. Now let me bring you in at this point. Clearly from the statement and from the conversation we're having, it appears that a lot of pressure is mounting on the MPP because per the NDC's assertion, it is the MPP supporters who are on the rampage causing all that harm. What's your response to the statement from the national chairman of the NDC?
But they are in government.
No two ways about that. He's
So why, and they are in charge of security, why are they, this is a security problem? Why are they not dealing with it?
I asked him and he said, well, the police have been slow.
They have forgotten they are in government. If the police are slow, get the police to be fast. Because you are in government. You've been telling us all morning.
I agree.
Yeah,
We've
let-
told-
let- let-
we- I-
You've been-
just a second.
Yes.
This is what we keep saying, that if we are in government and our government is just sitting down for them to, then that is why we would then probably have to come out and fight.
Okay. So what is now your government is failing to ensure the security of some Ghanaians, incidentally, who are your supporters. So the whole morning you are telling us you are in government. Now this is a primary function of government, security. You are telling your people, don't rely on the security, go and do something. Look, what the NDC chairman said is clearly irresponsible.
No, you cannot say that.
It's clearly irresponsible.
No, you can't say
And
that.
as a leader, I mean, this one you may find this kind of thing coming from the ground. But as a national leader, you should know better. You should know, because this thing is incitement.
I disagree with you.
Yeah.
It is
It has a
incitement.
tendency to inflame.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
If-
and that is Ade, please. When you are speaking, I
Ade,
pretended
let's allow Nana.
pretended I couldn't speak English.
Let's give him some time.
Now,
Speak
you
English
see,
now.
let me see the times.
Yes.
Sorry.
Speak English now.
You see, so the police, you know, there it is. The police is reprimanding the NDC leadership. You see, because what's his name, Portufe and the rest have done, it's just incitement. Because look, my brother, as the three of us are sitting here,
Yeah.
assuming some people come into the studio to attack us, what will we do? What will we do? Assuming people burst in now and try and attack us, what will we do?
We will defend ourselves.
We will defend ourselves.
Absolutely.
You understand?
We don't need to be told.
You don't need to be told.
Okay.
You
I
will
see the point
defend,
you're making.
exactly.
Okay.
You will defend yourself. Because if somebody came in there and gave me a slap, or even gave Adekoka a slap, I'll jump to Adekoka's defense. So for you not to go and hold a big price, what you are doing is you are inciting them. What you mean is that if somebody is attacked, please use to mobilize and go and attack somebody. That's what you are saying. And that's what the police is saying. Don't say that. It's foolish. Now, this business about attacks, we all know it has been a problem with transitions. We all know. You see, it happened in 2008. You remember, in 2008.
You forget about 2001, Nana. You forget about 2001.
Okay.
Please.
I didn't know.
Adi,
problem.
he's
It
had-
happened.
he-
It happened.
you go back.
It happened in
Exactly.
It happened in 2001. It happened in 2008. We don't want it to happen in 2016. You remember in 2008, and these MPP people were killed in Agbogboshi in Accra. You remember? You remember? They were murdered in cold blood in Agbogboshi. Up to today, that thing has not been solved. You remember people were even beaten and sacked from their homes. The NPP office for 2 months. I'm sure you people went and covered it. It was like a refugee camp. People had run away from. They were sleeping on the compound of the NPP office for 2 months because they've been sacked from their homes. This year, if you remember, the first speech that was made by the president-elect, the very, very, very first statement he made, he said, he appealed to NPP supporters that even in the jubilation, they should be restrained. You heard him?
Yes.
And that they should be careful not to attack an opponent and destroy properties. In the very first statement he made, he sent out this caution. So it's a problem. That's how a leader should speak. Subsequently, when we heard there were these attacks, the NPP issued a statement signed by the acting general secretary. And we said that, no, don't do it. Don't go and seize the toilets. Don't go and seize. There are procedures for determining who collects tolls at the public toilets. There are procedures for determining who collects tolls on the highway. Same for lorry parks. So wait. District assemblies will be put into place. If you believe you should be collecting the tolls, pass it through the district assembly. There's no need to attack anybody. We've put up those statements, and then we've asked the police to be up and doing. Because at the end of the day, beyond the party thing, it becomes a security matter against the law. So we've asked the police to be up and doing. We're still here at this attacks. We've also asked our regional management, where they know where these toilets are, they know where these lorry parks are. We've asked them to hold meetings with the membership to sensitize them that the party is not going to support anybody going to take over a lorry park or whatever. We've sent out those instructions to our regional executives and also to the constituency executives. Okay, so that is how we should. By the end of the day, all of us should urge the police. As if the police had been firm in 2008 and brought those people who killed NPP supporters in Agbobloshi. They had brought them to book, punished them according to law. If they had brought all those people who beat up NPP people and drove them from their homes and they had to come and stay at the head office for 2 months, if they had been stopped, you see, it would have restrained other people. But the police seem to take a lackadaisical attitude when they believe this thing is political. The police should be assured by all sides that please go ahead and arrest people who deal in these things. It's unfortunate that is happening, and all of us must condemn it, and all of us must ask the police to do their work, support the police, that there will be no political repressions. Go ahead and deal with the people.
Okay.
Not inciting people like Portofeu is trying to do. Now, there are also some of these
we have
issues,
to be running up.
2
so
seconds. There are also some of these issues that clearly are false. Once they said one candidate, I'm having this thing from Peace FM Online, so one NDC candidate in Lower West Achim called Shirley Ampim, who had just lost, she raised an alarm that her house was being attacked. When the police went there, the police commander, Asamakesi police chiefs, called DSP Anani Ampia, he's made a statement that when they went there in reaction to the attack that the woman had called her, she was doing manicure and pedicure in her room.
Nana, look at this picture.
Then you also heard this, they said circle.
Look at this picture.
I'll look at it in 2 seconds. The circle, remember, they said NPP people had gone and vandalized the lights at the Kwame Nkrumah fountain. It's not true. Joy FM went there. It's only President Mahama's posters that they said people had to. It wasn't true. So, and there's somebody called Wafake. They brought some picture with the man has some, his own family people have come out to say it is not true. And then there's Adekoka saying, Miss, can I finish? Can I just finish? I think. Now here's Adekoka saying Miss Bell is going to attack assault rifles. Adekoka. The people were holding Vuvuzela. So the NDC too, I mean, don't try to take advantage of all of this and try and present the picture as if there are some helpless people.
So I just
Nana, we'll have to wrap up.
I just want your camera to
we have to wrap up. It will not be good for our cameras early this morning. Well, we can't confirm who this person is and whether or not the person. But maybe after the break, you can have a look at that. But let me take advantage and then just say that we encourage everybody to stay calm.
And the people have been arrested?
I'm sure by now, whoever must be arrested for doing that.
Yes. Anyway, so let me say a big thank you to you, Adik Koka, who is the Greater Accra Regional NDC chairperson. Thank you very much, Adi, for joining us for the discussion. Nana Akumia is the MPP Communications Director. A very big thank you to you for being part of the discussion.